Indie games have come a long way within the last decade or so. I remember going on the PS3, Xbox 360, and Wii, seeing what seemed to be the first widespread indie games, at least on the console side of things. Games like Cave Story, Castle Crashers, and World of Goo. The Nintendo Switch is known for having a large amount of indie games, but in the world of independent development, there are always some games that just shouldn't have made it onto console. I'm Jake Ket, coming to you with Animated Apparel, and if you want to check out some awesome Nintendo-themed clothing, make sure to check out our link in the description, and even use code JAKE for 20% off of your purchase. In this video, I'm going to go over my top 5 picks in no particular order for retro-feeling games on the Nintendo Switch. This is not solely focusing on retro graphics, but is mostly focusing on nostalgic and retro-feeling gameplay. Games older gamers can play and share with their families that remind them of games they played a decade ago. While some of these are fairly popular, I did try to find some hidden gems that I believe didn't receive the recognition they deserved. The Nintendo Switch has many remasters and re-releases of older retro games, with a library of NES and Super NES games even being included in the Nintendo Switch Online service. These will be excluded as we focus on more current retro-feeling games. The first game I would like to discuss today is Fables, the Everlasting Sapling. This role-playing game was released in November of 2019 and is a throwback, feeling almost like a spiritual successor reminiscent of the older Paper Mario games. In Fables, the player controls V the Bee, Kaboo the Beetle, and Leaf the Moth. Each character has their own abilities used to traverse the environment, solve puzzles, and find secrets. Much like many other RPGs, within the overworld, enemies can either be engaged with or avoided altogether. Toejam and Earl Back in the Groove. Toejam and Earl has been around since 1991, but hasn't seen a game since its third installment since 2002. In 2019, 17 years after the last game in the series, Toejam and Earl Back in the Groove finally released after a successful Kickstarter. This game really brought me back to the original Toejam and Earl, and couldn't have been more perfect. This is easily my favorite game I've ever played on any console, with the original game in this series even being the first video game I have ever played. Although this is not a remaster of the original Toejam and Earl, it does have a similar story. Toejam and Earl is about two alien rappers who have crash landed on Earth. The player must run around Earth and find the missing pieces to their Rap Master rocket ship while avoiding any humans. This new game took everything I loved about the first game and improved upon it. Even to this day, Toejam and Earl impresses me, doing things I've seen no other game do, between falling down to the previous level and its game-changing split screen. Taxi Chaos is highly similar to Crazy Taxi, undeniably being a modern spiritual successor to the game. Just like in Crazy Taxi, the goal of this game is to accumulate as much money as possible by delivering passengers to their destinations in the fastest time possible and earning tips by performing crazy stunts before the time runs out. This game did have mixed reviews, but if you catch a sale or are just craving a new take on Crazy Taxi on your Nintendo Switch, I'd check it out. Mantis Racing is very similar to any type of old-school top-down racing game. We do not seem to see many games like this as of recently, and this one does it fairly well. This game features an RPG-style upgrade system to present players with tactical choices and give more replay value. And we've come to the last game on our list, probably being the most recognizable. Yooka-Laylee is a third-person platforming game aiming to bring you nostalgia as you remember the 1998 release of Banjo-Kazooie. Yooka-Laylee was also a crowdfunded game, much like Toejam and Earl Back in the Groove, being launched on Kickstarter back in 2015. This game had very mixed opinions, but I picked it up for full price at launch and I was definitely not disappointed. Although this game did not have the original Banjo-Kazooie name and characters, it isn't necessarily a fan game. It was actually developed by Platonic Games, a group of former employees for Rare, the company that released the original Banjo-Kazooie titles. Alright guys, and that is my top 5 retro-feeling indie games on the Nintendo Switch. Before you get mad at me, yes, I know not all of these games are perfect. They might not even be the best retro-inspired indie games on the Switch. But I believe these games deserve more appreciation than they receive. With that being said, in the comments down below, make sure to let me know your favorite indie game on the Nintendo Switch that has brought you some nostalgia. And if you liked this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and maybe even check out my personal channel, Jake Ket, and I'll see you all soon.